Hello everyone, Khalid here. Welcome back. So far, we've been drawing single shapes on a blank canvas. Today we're going to put this all together. We're going to build a simple landscape scene using only rectangles and ellipses. We're not going to use what we call sprites or images yet. We're only going to use geometry and color. First thing is we need to plan the layers. When building a scene, we need to think in terms of which is going to be the first layer, which is going to be the second layer, and so on. Just like when we're making a sandwich. The sky, is it going to be in the back, in the middle, or in the front? If the sky is in the back, what's going to be in the middle? Mountains, hills, whatever it is. What's going to be in the front? The trees, or buildings, or the house, maybe people walking. So we're going to code that in this order. We're going to first put the sky, then we're going to put the objects that are distant but in front of the sky, and then we're going to go for the details at the forefront. The way we do this is in coding. First, we put the code that's going to build what's in the background, and then what's closer, and then what's closer, until we get to the closest. Because the way the code runs is, it runs the first codes at the beginning, then it goes through them one by one. So if we draw the background at the beginning, then we draw something, it's going to be drawn on top of the background. But if we draw that thing, like a building or something, and then we draw the background, it's going to be drawn over that thing. So all we'll see is the background, because whatever is behind the background was covered by the background. So we need to go in the correct order. So we're going to draw the background, then we're going to add the sun, and then we're going to add the other things that we want. So let's start by drawing the background. I'm going to remove this code and start by drawing the background. So for the background, we can either write here sky blue, or we can use the RGB colors. So for now, I'm going to add the sky blue color. It's already saved there. So if I add the sky blue color, I'm going to have this blue color in the background. Then I need to add the sun. To add the sun, I'm going to add an ellipse, and I'm going to put the position to be in the top right corner here. So I'm going to make the sun in this area. So this area is 300 and 100 as shown in the coordinates right here. That's 300 and 100 approximately, or I can count the squares, and each square is 50 in width, 50 in height. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2. So that's 6 squares in width and 2 squares in height. So that's 300 and 100. So let's add this as 300 and 100 and run the code. Now this is too big. We need the sun to be much smaller. So to change the width and height, I'm going to control these ones here. So I'm going to put the width and the height to be 50 and 50. And we have this size now. This is not big enough. I can make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to make it 100 and 100. So now that's more like it. As well as, I'm going to change the position to have only part of the sun showing. So I'm going to put the sun to start at this point, which is, as we can see, the x and the y, which is 400, approximately 403. So I'm going to put the x to be 400 and the y to be 0 and reset it. I'm going to change the sun to be a little bit more on the canvas. So 403 is not working as I want it to, so I'm going to put it to 350 and 50 and see what happens. Now I'm going to change it to 375 and 25. And now we can check if it's in the right position. So now I think it's more like it. To change the color, I'm going to use the fill code. Yellow is the color I want. So now I have the sun in the background, on the background. Next thing I'm going to add are some clouds. So to do the clouds, I'm going to use the ellipse as well. So I'm going to draw 3 ellipses to make the clouds, 3 white ellipses to make the clouds. The cloud is going to be positioned somewhere here. So I'm going to put 1 ellipse at this position, which is 175. 1 ellipse at this position, which is 275, and 1 at this position, which is 150, 100. So I said 175, 275, and 150, and 100. I'm going to make them 100 in width and 50 in height, 100 in width and 50 in height, 100 in width and 50 in height. Let's see how it's going to turn out. I have them drawn like this. I think I'm going to get the two ones at the top closer to one another, and I'm going to add a fourth ellipse to make it more like a cloud. So I'm going to add a fourth one, which is going to be in this area 150 and 50, 150 and 50, and the size is going to be also the same thing. I'm going to make them white in color, so I'm going to put the fill above those four ellipses and below the sun, because I don't want the sun to become yellow as well. So I'm going to put this white color here. Okay, and I'm going to remove the stroke. I'm going to put something called the noStroke to remove the borders. noStroke removes the borders from the clouds. So now this is more like it. I'm going to reduce the size, the width of the clouds to be 80. To make it look more bubbly. I don't want it to be as long as it is right now. I want it to look a bit more bubbly. That's more like it. So now I have the sun and I have the clouds. Now I want to make some green grass at the bottom here. To do the green grass, I want to add a rectangle that's going to be starting from this side and ending at the complete opposite side. And I want it to be until maybe this height, which is around 325. So I'm going to put this rectangle. It's going to start at this point, which is the 0 and 325. That's the top left corner. The top left corner of the green grass is going to be drawn approximately here, which is 0 and 325. And the width is going to be the whole screen, which is the whole 400. The screen is 400 in width. And the height is going to be the whole height minus the 325. Whole height is 400 minus the 325, which is 75. Now if I run the code, I'm going to have this rectangle drawn here. But I need it to be green in color. So I'm going to add the fill code above this rectangle and below the clouds. And I'm going to make it green in color. So now I have the grass. I think it would look better, in my opinion, if I raise the grass a little bit more towards the top. So I'm going to change the 325 to make it 300 instead. And I'm going to make it a little bit longer. Instead of 75, I'm going to make it 100 to cover the distance. So now I have this green grass. As you see, I'm thinking in layers. I have the background, the sun, the clouds, and the grass. Now I want to add the building. To add the building, I'm going to add a rectangle. I'm going to make it in this area here that covers, for example, from this place, from 200 and 150, 2.5 squares in width, and I'm going to make it go down until this point, 200 and 350. So it's going to start from 200, 150 to 200, 350. So starting point, as we said, the top left corner is going to be 200 and it's going to be 200 and 250. And it's going to end at 350. So that's from 150 to 350. That's 200 in height. And the width is going to be 2.5 squares. So that's 50 and 50 and 25. So that's 125. Now I'm going to run the code to see if it's drawn properly. As I can see, it's not drawn properly. The location is a little bit lower than what I wanted it to be. So let's check what's the problem here. So the y is 250. I need the y to be 150. The starting position to be 150. Now it's in the right place. Although the color is still not right, again, I'm going to add the fill. I'm going to change it to gray. Now I have the building here, but I still don't have the details. I need to put the windows and a door. To put the window, I'm also going to use the rectangle. So I'm going to make two windows. One window is going to be here in the middle of this one, and the other window is going to be here in the middle of this one, and then I'm going to have a door. So let's start with the door. The door is going to be 1 square in height. So it's going to start here. It's going to be maybe 30 in width and 50 in height. So the starting position, as I can see, it's 230 and 300. So I'm going to put 230 and 300. And the width, as I said, is going to be 30 and the height is going to be 50. Now if I run it, I can't see anything appear here because the color is still gray. I'm going to make it a brownish color. Let me try the brown color first, and if I don't like it, I can change it. So let's go with the brown color for the door. Okay, I can see the door here. I want to make the position in the center, more in the center, so I'm going to put the door start in the center, which is 2 squares and a half is 125. Divided by 2, that's going to be 62.5. So I'm just going to go with 60. So the door is going to be 60 away from the edge of this building. So if I start here, it starts at 200, the X starts at 200, and I need to add 60 to it, so that's 260. Instead of 230, I'm going to make it 260. And now I have the door a bit further than what I want, so I'm going to make it a bit closer. I'm going to make it 250. I'm going to try until I find the right position that I want. So maybe 245 is going to be the last position. I like it this way. And I want to put a very small ellipse here as the doorknob. So I'm going to add an ellipse. And this ellipse, I'm going to make it white. So I'm going to put the fill color, make it white. And I'm going to make it here as the doorknob. So that's 270 and 320. 270 and 320. It's going to be a very small size. Maybe 5 and 5 would do. I'm going to check. I'm going to make it a little bit lower to be in the middle of the door. So I'm going to add 10 to the Y and see how it works out. I think this is good, a bit lower than the mid part. So now we have our door, and then I want to add the windows. I'm going to add 4 windows in this area, 1 in this area, and 1 in this area, and 1 in this area, and 1 in this area. So let's start with this one. I think it's going to start from here. Let's start from 200x, 180y. So let's add a rectangle that starts from 200x and 180y. And the width and height of the rectangle, let's try a 30 and 30 and see how this works out. So the 200x is a bit closer to the edge of the building. I need to add maybe 10 or 20 to it. So let's try a 10 first and see how it works out. And maybe a 20, and then we can decide which one looks best. So I think this one looks better. I need to add another rectangle, which is going to be maybe 1 square away from this one. If we get this 1 square away, so that's 250 at 300. I think that's too much. So it's going to be maybe 20 in difference. So 220 plus the 30, the width, that's 250. Plus another 20, that's 270. So let's put 270 here. And it's going to be the same position in the y-axis, and the same width, and the same height. And I'm going to start it. And here now I have 2 windows. I'm going to add another 2 right below it by adding 2 other rectangles. That's rectangle number 1. That's rectangle number 2. I'm going to make the X equal to the ones above them so they can be positioned on the x-axis the same way, but the y, I'm gonna add 20 or 30 to it. So the y is 180, draws them there, here. Then I have the height as 30, and then I need to add maybe 10 or 20 or 30 more. So as I said, that's 180, and adding a 30, that's a 210, and adding another 20, that's a 230. So I'm gonna make the y 230 and the y 230. And the size, width, and height of both of them are gonna be 30 and 30. So now I have the windows here. I have 4 windows. I have a door, I have the building, the clouds, the sun, and the ground. Last thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to add a tree here. To add a tree, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a rectangle. I'm gonna color it as brown. I'm gonna add a brown rectangle. The rectangle is going to be from this area, 50 and 330, and it's gonna be 50 in width and maybe 200 in height. So 50 in x and 330 in y, 50 in width and 100 in height. Again, I need to remember the point I start from is the top left corner. I need to bring it a little bit upwards. So I'm going to start from 220. 220. Now that's a better starting position. I still think it's a bit too wide. I'm going to reduce the width of it to make it 30. And the height to make it 90. As well as I'm going to bring it a bit lower. So instead of 220, I'm going to start from 250. Now I have this tree bark. I need to add the circles or the leaves. I'm going to make this by adding ellipses, circles over one another. And I'm going to make them green. So I'm going to add the fill color to make it green. I'm going to run this. And then I'm going to add 3 or 4 ellipses. Let's see how it's going to work out by adding 3 ellipses, and then we can work forward. So that's 1, 2, and 3 ellipses. The position is going to be here, here, and here. So 40, 230, let's go with this, 40, 240, 90, 240, and in between 40, 240, 90, 240, and then in between is 90 and 40. What's in between is 70. So 70, and I'm gonna make it maybe 200 and try this out. So I want to make the sizes as 50 and 50 for each and see how they're gonna look like first of all. So I think I'm gonna make them closer to one another. I'm gonna drop this a bit closer to the other ones to make it 220. And I'm gonna get those closer to one another. So that's gonna be 80. That's going to be 50. And this one is supposed to be 65. And I'm going to make it 210 instead of 220. I think 215 would be the best looking one. So now we have this scene where we can add more detail. I just wanted to show you how we can use the basic geometry to try and draw the background and the sun, the clouds, the building, as well as a tree. We can still add more colors, more shapes to make it more colorful and have a better scene for us. And there it is, a simple landscape built entirely from code. Next time, we're going to introduce something exciting. We're going to introduce variables and random numbers. Imagine generating a random number of stars in the night automatically. See you next class. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more coding lessons.